What's up, friends, and thanks for joining us today on Tuesdays with Taylor. Today we're talking about some of the biggest pitfalls home buyers make and how you can avoid them going forward. That's coming up right after a word from today's sponsor. Today's episode of Tuesdays with Taylor is sponsored by the Gryffindor Quidditch team. Why support a house like Ravenclaw, Slytherin, or Hufflepuff when you can support the real champion, Gryffindors? Get your Gryffindor apparel and cheer them on at this week's match. Thanks so much to this week's sponsor. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Taylor Osasonic. I'm a Colorado native and real estate advisor. So jumping right into this week's episode, talking about the biggest mistakes home buyers make. First up is being seduced by a home's good looks and maybe some updates without digging down and finding out what's really going on with the house. I find that some of the biggest times when this happens is if the outside's been updated or if the kitchen has been remodeled. You get up to the house, it's got incredible curb appeal, or you walk into the kitchen, it's got great granite countertops, new island, new sink, something like that, and you start to ignore maybe an older furnace, an older AC unit, problems with the roof, foundation, and you just kind of get in love with the house without actually figuring out how much of an issue it's going to be going forward. So just make sure if you fall in love with certain features that the bones of the house are still there so you won't have a problem going forward. Another issue I see with home buyers is not paying enough attention to the location of the house. Where this can really be a problem is in expensive housing markets like we have here in the Denver metro area. The biggest area where I see this being a problem is when it comes to commutes driving to and from work. A lot of people end up doing their house hunting on weekends. So they make their drive to the house, traffic's not a super big issue, and they think this will be fine. And then after 6 months to a year living in the house, commuting an hour each way, they just can't take it any longer, and now they're forced to sell. So one of the best ways that I find to figure out whether a location is going to work for you is whatever times you're normally leaving for work, use something like Google Maps and navigate from the house you're looking at to your job or something that you drive to regularly at the time you drive it. That way you'll know what's in store for you if you decide to make the move. Another area that can cause problems is not paying enough for certain services during the house buying process. The number one of these would be the home inspection. I understand that it's hard. You're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for a home, you're dealing with the loan process, you're making a down payment, and then you hear it could be $500 or $1,000 for a home inspection, and you either A, choose not to get one at all, or you choose a cheap service, or you get the bare minimum. As much as it might hurt a little bit in the wallet right now up front, having to pay a few extra $100, it could hurt even worse in the tune of tens of thousands of dollars to not do it. So just make sure you're working with your lender, you're working with your real estate agent to see what they advise that you should do, and then you can make an informed decision going forward. But again, I don't believe that this is ever a situation that you should be skimping on. Hiring a lender can also be a tough thing for home buyers, especially first-time home buyers who haven't gone through the process anymore. The biggest issue I see is people getting sucked in by advertised interest rates. You hear these great interest rates, and maybe you even met with another lender, and you hear these rates on the radio, TV, and it's a lot lower, so you think, I need to go with them. It's going to be the better deal. The reality is that's usually not the case. A lot of times there's built-in fees, or that advertised rate might not even be what you're getting. So it's really important when working with a lender to get all the numbers and making sure you're being taken care of, and you don't get hit with surprising costs at the closing table. The final thing I wanted to talk about today is the actual moving process. It's super easy to be like, we're going to do this ourselves, we'll have some friends or family pitch in for the move, we're not going to worry about hiring movers. The reality is, moving is one of the most difficult parts of moving. I know, surprising. But here's what I would advise. No matter what, at least talk with a couple moving companies and see what they charge. See if maybe you want to have them at least take the big stuff. Because the reality is, if you or your friend damage something of yours, chances are they're not going to reimburse you for it. And worst case scenario, if somebody gets hurt during the move, it could really end up costing you. Moving is not an easy thing, especially when it comes to big things like beds, if you're taking a refrigerator, desks, anything like that. Hiring movers might be the best money that you spend during your move. And that'll bring to a close this week's edition of Tuesdays with Taylor. Thanks as always for watching, and remember, when you're looking to buy or sell, or you have any friends who are interested, reach out to me. I'd love to talk with you guys and see if it would be a good fit for us to work together, or if there's just anything I can do to help. So thanks again, have a great day, and remember, be good out there. And if you can't be good, be careful.